There is no security meter for AI. That is not me being dramatic. That is the title of a brand new paper from the Berryville Institute of Machine Learning, BIML, landing May 13th, 2026. Gary McGraw, Harold Figueroa, Katie McMahon, Richie Bonett, 20 pages, and the punchline is right there on the cover. I want to walk you through it because if you are buying AI tools, selling AI tools, regulating AI tools, or insuring AI tools, and at this point that is most of you, this paper changes how the next 3 years of conversations are going to go. A while back, Gula sat me down for an interview about BIML's earlier work, the architectural risk analysis of large language models from January 2024. We talked about the things that keep BIML up at night: recursion, model collapse, the pollution of training data, the fact that, as I put it then, the machine is the data. This new paper picks up exactly where that conversation left off, except now the question is not just what could go wrong inside the model, the question is how would you ever know? Here is the setup. Everyone wants a number. Boards want a number. Regulators want a number. Insurance underwriters very, very much want a number. You hand them a model and they say, on a scale of 1 to 100, how secure is it? BIML's answer in 20 pages of careful argument is that number does not exist. Not because we are lazy, not because the field is young, because security is not the kind of thing you can read off a dial. It is an emergent property of an entire system under attack, and AI just made the system orders of magnitude more complicated. So if your vendor is showing you a score that says 92.4% secure, what BIML is telling you is that is theater, Halloween costumes in a security trench coat. Their phrase, not mine, and it is a great phrase. Let's start with how AI gets measured at all. The paper walks through the history. ImageNet in 2006, convolutional neural networks crushing it by 2012. For a while that worked. Small models, clean, held back evaluation sets. You could check your work. Then transformers happened. Then scaling. Then the data sets got so enormous that nobody could honestly hold anything back anymore because the models were already trained on all of it. Benchmarks evolved into tests for humans, the LSAT, the BAR, MMLU, HeliSwag, ARC, GSM-8K, and here, BIML quotes Melanie Mitchell, "We moved from measuring perception to measuring cognition." That sounds like progress. It is not. Mitchell gave a NeurIPS keynote in Vancouver last December where she laid out 6 principles for evaluating these models as, and I love this framing, alien intelligences. Be aware of your anthropomorphic bias, be skeptical of your own hypotheses, vary the stimulus, care about mechanism, not just behavior, distinguish performance from competence, and take negative results seriously. Now look at how AI vendors actually use benchmarks today, and you will see they violate every single one of those principles on purpose because it sells. Think about what that means in the boardroom. A vendor walks in with a slide deck and a leaderboard. The model scored 92 on some benchmark with a cool acronym. The buyer is being asked to treat that 92 as if it were a credit score or a crash test rating or the tensile strength of a steel cable. It is not any of those things. The benchmark is a snapshot of a model's behavior on a fixed set of questions that by now the model has almost certainly already seen. Mitchell's framework is not a philosophy paper. It is the manual the industry pretends not to have read. So now consider security and privacy benchmarks, specifically Secure from RIT, CI Bench, XITIN from Microsoft, PrivIQ, Privacy Bench. They all promise to score how good a model is at handling security or privacy tasks. BML reproduces a sample leaderboard in the paper, and they label it in big bold letters as wrong on purpose. That is the joke. Because 3 things are true about every one of these benchmarks. 1, they are static. Once they ship, they get sucked into training data, and the next model passes them by remembering, not reasoning. 2, they can be gamed. UC Berkeley showed that 8 of the top agent benchmarks, including SWE Bench and Web Arena, can be exploited to score nearly 100% without solving a single task, just by hacking the way the score gets computed. 3, and this is the killer, even if a model aces a security benchmark, that tells you the model is good at the benchmark. It does not tell you the model is secure. Those are completely different sentences. The same problem hits privacy. BIML walks through PrivIQ, Privacy Bench, the visual privacy benchmarks. The pattern repeats. The benchmarks measure how well a model performs privacy tasks. They do not measure whether the system is itself privacy preserving. Same loop, different label. If you want a single sentence that summarizes most of the AI safety industry today, that is the sentence. Same loop, different label. This is what BIML calls the strange loop, and it is the most important paragraph in the paper. Read that twice. The model that scores 92 on a SOC investigation benchmark is being asked, can you do security tasks well? It is not being asked, are you the model secure against attack? McGraw has been making this point for 20 years in software security. Building secure software is one discipline, Building software that does security, antivirus, firewalls, scanners is another discipline. And historically, security software is some of the worst written software on the planet, riddled with vulnerabilities. Same problem, new century. If you walk away from this video remembering one thing, remember that when a vendor says AI for cybersecurity, ask the second question, is your AI itself secure? Because the loop is not closed. And right now, almost nobody is asking. Now, BML pulls a really nice move. They walk you through how software security got to where it is today, because the AI security story is going to rhyme. It starts in 1995 with Dan Farmer's Satan tool, the first canned penetration test. McGraw coined a name for what tools like that actually measure. He called it a Badness-Ometer. On the left, it reads deep trouble, meaning the test broke you. On the right, it reads who knows, meaning you survived this particular can of tests and exactly nothing else can be inferred. Pen testing is great at finding badness. It cannot prove the absence of badness. That is a totally different problem. Software security got past this by inventing white box analysis, looking inside the code, and then by inventing process. The Building Security and Maturity Model, BSIMM, 12 practices, 16 versions, real data from real companies. McGraw, Brian Chess, Sammy Meigs, 2009. BIML's argument is AI is roughly where software security was in 1998. Lots of badness-ometers, lots of pen testers, no BSIMM yet. We have not even agreed on what the practices are, let alone gathered the data to validate them. This is the part of the paper that the prior interview foreshadowed, and it is my favorite frame in all of BML's work. A traditional computer program is a how machine. You know exactly how to do the task, and you write down the steps. A machine learning model is a what machine. You do not know how to do the task, yet you have a pile of examples of what you want, and you train a model to approximate it. The implication for security is enormous. In a how machine, you audit the code. In a what machine, you have to audit the pile. Where did it come from? Is it clean? Is it poisoned? Is it biased? Is it even yours? Can you protect it from being polluted by future model output, which is recursion, which leads to collapse? These are the questions Ron and I worked through in the prior interview, and they are exactly the questions BML is still wrestling with 2 years later. Agentic AI makes this worse, not better. Agents are a how harness wrapped around a what model. The harness is deterministic, the model is stochastic. You are now stitching the two together with prompts and tools and pretending you have engineered something. BML's proposed exit ramp is to start asking why, to look inside the model and understand intent, not just behavior. And here is where the prior interview comes back. Ron and I spent a chunk of that conversation on what happens when what piles get polluted by their own descendants, model output flowing back into the next training set. BML calls that recursion. Recursion plus enough cycles equals model collapse. The new paper does not retread that ground, but the whole reason you cannot just sample your way to a security score is that the data generating the score is increasingly the same data being scored. The snake is biting its own tail and the tail is on fire. So what does BML actually recommend? 3 things. 1, use benchmarks for what they are good for, comparing models against each other on a defined task, and stop interpreting scores as security ratings. They are not security ratings. They have never been security ratings. 2, invest in process. Identify which assurance activities applied to which AI artifacts actually reduce risk. Architectural risk analysis, red teaming, adversarial testing, data provenance, contamination detection. This is the spade work that eventually becomes an AI BSIMM. Starseer's work on layerwise activation analysis can identify a sparse set of internal layers whose activation patterns alone are enough to classify jailbreak attempts and prompt injection, matching or beating fine-tuned safety classifiers. And the same technology lets you do targeted fine-tuning that keeps 97% of accuracy while training 84% fewer parameters without nuking your safety alignment in the process. That is the direction, not a security meter, a security telescope. You point it at the inside of the model and you start to see why the behavior is happening, not just what behavior happened. When Ron interviewed me about the 2024 BIML paper, the conversation kept landing on the same uncomfortable place. Recursion, pollution, collapse. The fact that the machine is the data and the data is increasingly the machine's own output. 2 years later, BIML is back with a longer paper, more co-authors, and a sharper conclusion. There is no security meter for AI. There may never be one. What we get instead is process observability and the discipline to stop pretending a benchmark score is a safety guarantee. That is the work. It is unglamorous, and it is the next decade of cyber. Read the paper. It is at berryvilleml.com. The citation is in the description. And if you have not seen the prior interview where Ron walked me through the architectural risk analysis, that link is in the description too. If this kind of breakdown is useful to you, do the thing, hit the like button, subscribe to Gula Tech Adventures, ring the bell so you do not miss the next deep dive. And drop a comment telling me which BML idea hits hardest. The strange loop, the what pile, or the Badness-Ometer. I read them. I'm vRon. The Badness-Ometer is older than I am. We're still using it because we have nothing better. Let's go build something better. Thank you so much for watching. It genuinely means a lot. Hit that like button, subscribe, and I will see you on the next one.